Hello and welcome back to Small Talk. We have got a great episode ahead as we talk to a pair from the University of Redlands. I'm your host, Katie Mucci. Each week on this show, we highlight the past and present of Division III, with both current and former student athletes joining to talk about their experiences, their favorite on-campus spots, the craziest road trip stories, and more. This week, we're chatting with Andrea York, a very recent graduate on the women's golf team, alongside a former member of the program, Keilee Bessho. The two talk about their Texas Roadhouse traditions, why they chose Redlands, their thoughts on the future of Division III women's golf, and more. Thanks for joining this week. Now it's time for some small talk.
Hi, my name is Andrea York, and I am a former member of the women's golf team at the University of Redlands.
Hi, my name is Keilee Bessho. I am a former member of the women's golf team at the University of Redlands, and I am currently a SCIAC Division III coach.
Well, once again, thank you both for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to join. Really excited to hear about your experience over there at Redlands and around California. So the first thing we will talk about is your on-campus life and just what it was like going to Redlands, being around there. So golf teams are small. You don't have like a million teammates that you're hanging out with or trying to find groups with, but you guys probably had a spot that could accommodate 6 to 8 of you on campus, coffee shops, restaurants, whatever it may be. So for you first, Andrea, since you're just coming out of your career there, what are some of those spots that you and your teammates would go hang out on campus? What are some of the favorites?
I would say we had two. Well, I believe it was my sophomore year, we finished building our indoor facility, which has been great. We kind of get weird looks when we say we have an indoor facility because we're in California. So, like, what weather would we be accommodating? But it's great, especially in between classes, if we have an awkward break. It's used by both the men's and the women's team. And so there was hardly a time where you would go in there and someone wouldn't be in there. So you always have someone to practice with. And not golf related, I would say my favorite spot on campus was probably our quad. Um, you always see people out there tanning or reading, doing homework, or playing spike ball or something like that. And especially when I moved out of my apartment into our postseason housing, my dorm room was right in front of the quad. So I spent a lot of time there.
That is very convenient. Haley, for you, what about your time? Did it change from when you were a student athlete to now, or is that, well, I guess you didn't have the indoor facility, it sounds like. But what were your favorite
Yeah,
spots?
I definitely would have gone to the indoor facility if it were an option while I was there, but unfortunately that was all in the works and was just an idea when I was at the University of Redlands. For my favorite spot on campus to hang out, I would definitely say the bottom floor of the library. There's a coffee shop and smoothie shop on the bottom. Well, there was a coffee and smoothie shop on the bottom floor. Andrea can confirm or deny if that is still there. There were a bunch of tables outside the coffee shop that student athletes would be at, and we would be in the library setting until 2 a.m. One of my best memories at the University of Redlands was actually two of my teammates and I, Kendall Nicholson and Mariah Moon, wanted to learn a couple of line dances. So we reserved one of the rooms in the bottom floor area where they have like these little study rooms. And we actually went on YouTube and started Googling like how to do certain line dances, like the Footloose line dance. And we did that at the bottom floor. So it was just a really fun spot to kind of catch all of our activities.
That's awesome. Did you learn it? Did you get it down, or was it rough?
It was rough, but I think we got the Footloose dance down. Right when we got to nationals, right when we hopped off the bus, we like all got out and someone filmed us doing the dance because we were so proud of it.
Amazing.
And that video is like floating around our phones. Hopefully it doesn't resurface after this.
Say, wow, Kaylee, that's really interesting. I didn't know there was a video of that. I'm hoping I will be able to see that at some point.
I feel like we can work on that. We might make it resurface. I apologize if it does. Uh, so This is the fun question I like to ask. When your family's in town or you're not living on a college student budget, what are the best spots to have the family take you out to dinner around Redlands? Either of you can go.
I'll go on this one. A a favorite spot is Benjarong. It's a Thai restaurant about half a mile from campus. Amazing Thai food, fantastic shrimp Penang curry. If we're looking for something a little bit quicker, definitely going to downtown Redlands and hitting up Gourmet Pizza. They have the best crust in Redlands. I mean, that might be disputed, but I like to say it's the best crust. And yeah, those are the main two for me.
I agree with both of those. I was gonna say, which this actually isn't even out of budget, so we would go a lot just as it is, but non-cafe. I don't know if you've ever been there, Kaylee. It's an Indian restaurant. It's in between campus and Redlands Country Club. So it's on the drive back and it's right next to a boba place. So, and they started doing this deal where if you bring in your receipt from non-cafe, they give you a discount on boba. So we would go a lot, but yeah, it's pretty good.
That's some good marketing for both of those places, actually. I love it. Now let's think about travel. So I was looking at your schedule the last couple of years. You don't leave California a ton, but you do. So you have gotten a couple trips. Obviously, you've been at nationals. I know the last 2 years, Kentucky, Florida. So you've got a little bit of travel getting out of California. What were maybe some of your favorite places to travel during your time? And Kaylee, I'll have you start.
Yeah, definitely. Houston was so we went to the preview and the national championship my year at Redlands. And that was always a really fun trip. We would fly there. And then another really fun trip was to Arizona for the George Fox Invitational, and that one was really fun because we got to kind of go around Arizona, and we even got to a Dodger game because it was right around spring training. So those were the two main non-California events we went to that year.
Very fun. Andrea, how about like I said, you've had a couple nationals trips. What was your favorite?
Ooh, out of nationals, I would actually say Michigan was probably my favorite, which it was my freshman year, so that added some excitement on top of it, but also it was the only one that hasn't been humid. So that holds a special place in my heart. But other tournaments, I would say my favorite's probably the UC Santa Cruz Invitational. I think that's what the tournament's called. It's in Monterey. And the course that we play, it's like the front nine, it's really tree lined and kind of narrow. And then you cross the street, and the back nine is all like along the ocean. So I always feel, I don't know, like special playing there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree with the Michigan thing. The Houston, Florida, the Kentucky too. I'm sure you guys had rain in Kentucky most of the tournament this year. So I'm sure all very humid. So I can understand that as a reason to want to go to Michigan. Also, probably a bit cooler. Those are all very warm places too. Um, any touristy experiences? Some of those places really do lend themselves to some touristy. I know you mentioned like the Dodgers spring training. Anything, Andrea, for you that you got to do that sticks out?
Oh, actually, this last year at Nationals, they were holding the PGA Championship like 30 minutes from where we were staying in Kentucky, and we ended up getting tickets to go one of the days. And so it was fun. We went, I don't remember what day it was of the tournament. I think it was the second day, but we got to go before our event started. And so it was a way to have a fun outing as a team and not be worried about nationals or like the week coming up and get to do something to take our minds off it. So that was fun.
That's really cool. Haley, anything else from your times? Nationals or not nationals?
One of the cool things we got to do at the Houston Nationals was uh, go to the Johnson Space Center. It was about 10 minutes from our hotel. And yeah, that was a really cool experience to kind of adventure around. Also, just being able to experience Texas barbecue, I think that was a really cool kind of the barbecue in California is not nearly as good as the barbecue in Texas. So that was also a really fun time just in that Houston trip.
I can concur. The barbecue in Texas is very good. Now let's think about academics. So kind of take you back on campus. You both obviously chose to go to Redlands for a reason. Some of that might have been golf, but there surely was something else that drew you there. So starting with you, Andrea, what was maybe the deciding factor in getting you to Redlands? What was it about that school that had you spend your time there?
Um, it was definitely the team at the time, which I think is an interesting choice because, of course, teams are going to change and people are going to graduate. But I come from a small town, and my high school team, we were all really close. We grew up together. And so a strong sense of community was something that I was really looking for. And I mean, even like Keilee had a big part in that. I remember because when I was recruiting, I looked at a bunch of different schools in different conferences, different divisions, and the vibe I got from Redlands, for lack of a better term, was what I was looking for. I met every person on the team the day that I toured. You could tell people were like excited to meet me and wanted to get to know me. And I remember, I think I was like 15 at the time. I went to go watch Skyac 1 and I was watching Keilee play and she lost her, but you know what I'm gonna say. She lost, I'm looking at her laugh on camera. She lost her ball and I found it. And then like a year later, I was actually like looking to apply at the school and she remembered that I had found her ball and in her email was like, "Thank you, by the way, I saved par." And I don't know. That sense of community was something that I was definitely looking for and I definitely got from my time at Redlands.
That's awesome. I'm sure it definitely stood out to you that like a player remembered you from such a little interaction. I'm sure that definitely helped you with your decision. Keilee, how about you?
Oh my gosh, it just making me tear up over here. For me, I was definitely looking for a good academic fit. I was a transfer student, so I had been at schools where I was one of 300 in a classroom. Um, I got to visit the University of Redlands and saw that the student to professor ratio was like 16 to 1, and even that was big for a class at Redlands. So that was very appealing. In addition to the academic fit, one of the cool perks of being a golf athlete at the University of Redlands is the usage of Redlands Country Club, which was designed by Alistair Mackenzie, who is the most famous golf architect. He also designed Augusta National, which hosts the Masters. That was very appealing to me. The day of my visit, we went to Redlands Country Club and a PGA Tour winner, Dave Stockton, was is a member at Redlands Country Club, and he actually designed this short game facility at Redlands Country Club that has every shot that you can hit under 100 yards, and all different green complexes, a lot of different chipping kind of angles and different stances. So I actually took one look at that short game facility and was just like sold. I said, "This is it. I'm coming here. This short game facility is what's going to take my game to the next level. I can't turn this opportunity down." In addition to the academic fit, it was just a perfect storm. So yeah, it was just the short game facility and the academics.
And as a transfer student, I assume it worked out well.
Definitely loved my experience.
Did you go right from playing to coaching at Redlands, or did you take any kind of break?
I so in 2019 I had two classes I had to take. So the head coach at the time had asked me if I would come on as a recruiting coordinator to kind of help with recruiting
Mm-hmm.
matters for that year. Um, so I did that for a year, and then the following year, Andrea's first year, I actually changed my title to being an assistant coach and a recruiting coordinator. So no gaps in there.
Awesome. Now, actually, Andrea, since you just wrapped up your time and during your undergraduate, What was maybe your favorite class or professor you had?
I took such a wide variety of classes at Redlands that I don't think I could pick one class. But as for professors, it was definitely Valerie Roundtree. So I'm a psychology, or I was a psychology major, and I minored in environmental studies. And Professor Roundtree, she's in the environmental science department and basically took on the role of my advisor. She helped me pick classes, figure out what prerequisites I needed to do, and she helped me get an internship through the environmental science program or department, and didn't need to do any of that for me, but went above and beyond to make sure that my whole experience there went smoothly. And she was very accommodating when I had to miss a bunch of class for golf. So I owe her that.
And now that you are graduated, I'm going to ask the question that I know college kids don't love to get, but what's next?
I don't know. I'm taking
I
a
love
gap
it.
year. Yeah, I don't know. I'm taking a gap year and I'm probably going to end up applying for grad school. If I do, it will be in environmental science, but what that will be in, I don't know yet.
Awesome. So, Keilee, when you look back at your time there, is there a class or professor that stood out to you, similar to Andrea?
I had so many amazing professors at the University of Redlands. My top three would have to be Art Svensson, who is a political science professor, an amazing human being who cares so much about his students and so much about constitutional law. That was probably one of my most challenging and most rewarding classes. I was engaged for 80 minutes nonstop because of his teaching style. And he also put so much time into his students in office hours and in supporting students who were having trouble in the class. That was definitely a highlight. And the other two are Laurie Fenton, who taught, I took 3 classes with him. He's a philosophy professor. He was just an amazing human being who just cared so much about my growth as a student and as was just like Andrea said, was very accommodating to my being a student athlete. He even I actually was I met him in the kind of when I was first transitioning to Redlands, and he was very skeptical of my ability to be a student because of being a student athlete, which was so surprising to hear, but talked he cared so much about my growth as a student, and I just am so grateful for him. And then the third professor that was just incredible was Kevin O'Neill. Andrea is also laughing on camera because Kevin was such an amazing professor. He has done so much for the University of Redlands. He started the Johnson Center, which is actually um, one of the smaller colleges at the University of Redlands. They um, are all about creating a holistic education that kind of breaks down the traditional authority roles in college, in education. And so instead of doing traditional classes with letter grades, the student and professor will sit down and create a contract about what sorts of academic obligations they're going to have over the course of the semester. And then they will go through and do all of the work. And then at the end of the class, the student and professor will go through an evaluation of sorts that is much more nuanced and less reduced down to just a single grade. So Kevin was just an incredible out of the box thinker. Um, I recall so many hilarious interactions with him. Um, he just I don't know how to articulate the kind of professor he was. Andrea, do you have any thoughts on how to explain Kevin?
Yeah, I'm I'm laughing as Kaylee's talking because I've taken a class with Kevin and he's he's eccentric to say the least. Which is refreshing to see, especially because he he was a little older than like the other professors that I've had. And so it, yeah, he's just a funny guy. That's why I'm laughing. I too cannot put into words his teaching style. Yeah.
He wrote a book on the internet afterlife and would integrate that to Greek philosophy, which is very not in tune with the internet afterlife. So how he was able to kind of connect all these ideas was just incredible to see. And he was just so humorous throughout all of it.
All right. I love it. So now we're gonna get to some story time, and the first thing I'll have you guys both share is your funniest or craziest story from your playing days. So, Andrea, I'll let you start this one. What is your funniest but craziest but appropriate story?
Okay, so this is a good one. I don't know if Kaylee's gonna be super happy with me sharing, but when I think it was nationals, it had to have been my sophomore year because she was still our coach, but we were sitting in the van in Texas waiting to get lunch or something. I don't remember what we were doing, but Keilee was sitting in the front seat and grabbed a box of balls from the dashboard to kill a fly or something that was on the windowsill and hits the windshield and cracks it. And in my head, I'm probably just playing it up. In my mind, the crack went all the way across the windshield. Like I know that's not true, but yeah, it was pretty funny. And our coach wasn't super thrilled, but happens. You know, what are you gonna do?
You look a little bit horrified, Kaylee. Is that, do you remember that story well?
I remember it very differently from how Andrew did because I was sitting in the front seat and this massive horsefly is like pestering me like right up in my face. Somehow it lands on the windshield and I'm like, okay, I got it. So in my head, I'm just trying to pick up whatever's closest to me. And I see this box of balls to my left and I grab them and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like I'm just gonna like, just gently smash this into the fly and then, it'll be fine. I clean it off the golf balls. So it was pretty early. I think it was earlier, so it was kind of cold outside, so the windshield was really brittle. And so like in my head, I'm just like lightly just pushing it up towards the windshield, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna smash the fly, and then it'll be fine. So I do that, and then I see this massive crack in the window, and I had pushed the fly into the windshield. Well, not only was there a crack, but the fly was still like in the windshield. Like it had died, but it was inside the windshield. And I was just horrified that I had broken the windshield. But yeah, that did happen and the girls were laughing pretty hard afterwards. So good memories.
All right. How about you, Kaylee? Can't share that story though.
Um, so when we were in Houston for the preview in 2018, our team had only traveled once together before, and we didn't really know each other quite well. Um, and so our our head coach Jack had decided to take us to the Texas Roadhouse, and one of the girls on the team was like, "Oh, don't worry, guys, I'm just gonna get a garden salad, no big deal." And we're like, "What? Okay, like a side salad, that's not a lot. Like, what? Okay, whatever." So we go into the restaurant and the bread comes and she just grabs the basket and starts eating. And we're like, okay, no big deal. Like they'll bring us more. And at the end of the meal, we'd realized she had eaten 25 rolls and had her garden salad as well. But just, oh my gosh, she's like a petite girl and like was eating so many. It was just incredible. So it was just really funny to kind of like see her just like continue to pick at the roles. So that was a pretty fun experience. I don't think that I'm articulating it very well.
No, those rolls are very good, but my stomach hurts just thinking about how many she ate because they're very rich too, especially if you use the butter. The butter really
Yeah.
gets you.
And she was just like dipping it in the
Ugh,
butter, just like going to town. And we're just just each time we're just like, oh my, I'm like, Annie, she just that was like her 12th.
another
And
one?
then she was like still going.
That's wild.
But
I knew they were unlimited, but I thought like there's always a limit to unlimited, right? Apparently not. Apparently they
nope.
will keep bringing them to you. Great. Andrea, how about you?
Um, I thought you were going somewhere else with that story because we, no matter where we traveled, we always found a Texas Roadhouse. It was a staple in our diet. And every time we would go, we would always pretend it was someone's birthday. And I don't know if you've ever had a birthday at Texas Roadhouse, but
Yes.
they do the whole show. Like they all start clapping and so it was like we'd sit down and we'd be eyeballing each other like like who's gonna have to put on a show for all the employees because it's like it's gonna be one of our birthdays regardless. So that's where I thought you were going. Because there was one time where I think it was Kendall's birthday and they brought like a saddle for her to sit
Yeah.
on. Do you
A
remember that?
saddle.
And she had to get on top and start like doing this with her arms. It was a whole thing. So that's where I thought you were going with that story. But yeah, I've had more birthdays at Texas Roadhouse than probably most. So
The line is forever ingrained in my memory. The attention, Texas Roadhouse. And then they asked for everyone to like throw their napkins and give a yeehaw. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Andrew's right. We every time it was someone's birthday, um, and the saddle was just so iconic. And just the blush that would be on whoever's face was just incredible. So many memories.
Was there anyone on the team who just like ate it up? Like they loved it being their birthday?
no,
No?
no one.
I feel like,
And well,
Never.
you had to commit to it, but there was one time where
yeah.
we were traveling for the preview, and like the next day was my birthday. So I'm in my head, I'm dialed. I'm like, it's gonna be
Yeah.
me. I'm prepared. I'm practicing my arm motion.
Warming up
And
the
then,
arm. Yep.
and I think it was like, and then Jack said it was Kendall's. Jack was our coach. Jack had said it was Kendall's birthday. I was like, okay, so all the preparation for nothing. But yeah,
How rude.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad you
What are
warmed
you
up
gonna
your
do?
arm just in case. So those were funny. Let's think about favorite memories. So you guys have both had a lot of success with your teams. Um, so what is just a favorite memory that sticks out to you during your time with the program? And we'll go the other way. So Andrea, you first.
Um, I've had a lot. Two come to my head, but I would say my favorite as a team was my junior year. We were playing at the Jekyll Island Invitational. I think that's what the tournament's called in Georgia. And it's a 3-day event. And after the second day, my team was back 4 or 5 strokes. I think we were either in second or third place. And I'm not sure why they formatted it this way, but I think it was because there was a weather delay. But instead of having 4 teams play together, where like the first seeds and then the second seeds and the third seeds, they had the first and second seed on a team play with the first and second seed of a different team, if that made sense. So there were 2 teams playing together, and it was 2 people on the same team. I don't know if you followed that, but
Yes,
it was
yes,
like a
I follow.
different formatting. So long story short, we were playing with our teammates, which never happens. And I was playing with my former teammate Hannah, and we ended up coming back and winning the tournament. So that was exciting in of itself, but it was just so fun to do that with your team in the same group. We were, not talking to each other like talking about clubs or anything like that, but encouraging each other and being able to feed off each other's energy. And I believe it was on hole 14. Hannah and I made back to back like 25-foot putts for birdie, and our coach was with us, and that either tied us for the lead or put us in first. And so we all got to celebrate, and then we watched the 2 girls playing in front of us. One of them had or they both had par putts, and if they both made them, we won the event. And so we got to watch them do that, and it was just fond memories. It was a special day.
Very cool. That is cool to get to play with your teammate. That's such an interesting quirk of golf is you really never get to see each other during the round. Keilee, how about you?
Is it okay if I give a coaching? I have two.
Absolutely.
Okay. So one of my most favorite memories at just in my time at Redlands was the 2022 national championship. I believe it was Houston. Andrea was on that team. I was with Iris, one of the players in Andrew's class, and we were walking down the ninth hole at or no, the 18th hole at Bay Oaks Golf Club, and there was just a huge amount of spectators, other teams, coaches, parents, just all around the green. And Iris had bladed it a little bit to the right and had a really tough chip to get up and down. And I think we were at that time we were maybe like one or two strokes ahead of the fifth place team, and she really needed to get up and down so that we could oh no, actually, Andrea, weren't we in we were I was mistaken. We were a couple of strokes ahead of the third place team. So we were in second place at this time and she had to get up and down. And I think it was a really tight race at that point. And we just talked over the shot. She hit it, made the putt. The crowd just goes wild. It because she was in the last group, all the other of the entire tournament, just so many people were around, and just it was just uh the crowds went wild. Like it was just an environment that you don't get to see in golf very often. And to go up with the team and get the second place trophy. I mean, we were about 15 strokes behind the first place team that year, so it was a fight for second, and all the second to fourth place teams were pretty close. So that was a really, really cool memory from my coaching experience at Redlands. On the other side, as a player, also at Bayout, um, I was fortunate to have my family fly out to Houston for my last my last college tournament, but they were all around on my last college hole. I have a video of my mom recording my last tee shot, and she goes, "Okay, this is Keilee's last ever college tee shot." And I had hit it so well, and it was to, finish the hole with a par. High five my coach, who Jack was really great about making sure we felt like we could play our best golf. He really did everything that he could to help us do that and support us. And I was really grateful for that. So I high fived Jack, and I hugged my mom and my dad and one of our family friends who I've known forever and love. And it was just like this culmination event of like this. So I had mentioned I transferred into the University of Redlands, and I had a little bit of a tough time finding my fit. And to end my career at the national championship, having been named a second team All-American, All Region, to have accomplished all the goals that I had set out as the first year, and to just get to do it with my family was just like the coolest experience and something that I will remember for the rest of my life. Um, and yeah, so just finishing and being around all the people that I love and care about was just something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
I love that. So now we're going to kind of wrap it up, and this is a good transition to have you start this next one, Keilee, about being a Division III student athlete. So I was doing some quick Googling after you mentioned that you transferred in, and I think you went to a Division II school first, or was it D1?
So Andrea's maybe kind of chuckling. I have a kind of crazy transfer history.
Okay.
I started out at a D2,
Okay, that's what I found, I think.
and then I ended up transferring to a D1. and then I transferred to an NAIA, and then I transferred
Oh,
to
girl.
D3. So, got to experience it all, which puts me in a great position to discuss why I think D3 is
Yeah.
the best. And
Yeah, just
so
what did it mean to you to be a D3 student athlete then, with having experience kind of all over?
it was by far the most rewarding experience. I felt that I was pushed at in every aspect of college athletics and just college. I had an incredible academic experience where I was able to create meaningful relationships with my professors. They all knew my name. They all knew I was on the golf team. They all cared about how I was doing. Um, in addition to that, they demanded a lot academically. I felt like I I couldn't just skate through. I really had to push myself to create quality work for them. And that was just on the academic side. Similarly, on the athletic side, D3 golf is so good and has only gotten better since then. Um, I've been able to balance this high academic load with, you know, playing some really challenging courses and really just trying to elevate my game and be the best golfer that I can be. So I think given that our schedule and at the D3 level is a little bit more flexible, I felt like I was able to make full use of my time such that I got the most out of my academic and I got the most out of my athletic experience. I also had time to go to a lot of different athletic events at the University of Redlands. I went to a couple soccer games, a lot of basketball games, a lacrosse game, and it was just the most well-rounded college athletics career I think I could have had. As I mentioned, I've experienced D2, D1, and NAIA, and at all of those levels, you have different levels of commitment for your athletics and different academic kind of levels. So I just felt like D3 was the best balance of where you're being pushed on all levels. Not to overgeneralize about the other divisions or to say that I've experienced it all, but just to say that D3 provides this really awesome opportunity for its student athletes to push themselves and be able to do a lot of other get involved in other ways around their institutions. So
Now that you're coaching, still in D3, of course, which we love. Now that you're coaching, do you feel like that the transfer experience, the finding your fit experience has really helped you with your student athletes?
absolutely. I think, when prospective student athletes come to me and they're wondering what it's like, the differences between the schedules, I feel like I have a very unique perspective where I can say, yeah, at the D1 that I was at, I woke up and had lifts from 6 to 7 a.m. I had class from 8 to 12. I had practice from 1 to 5. And then I had study hall from 6 to 8. And then I'd go to sleep and I'd do it again. um, and to contrast that with the D3 experience, which is like, okay, I wake up, I go to class, um, and now I have 5, 6 hours of daylight to do a little bit of practice and then go do some studying. And then maybe I can go back and practice or kind of, go to a community service event on campus or go, the University of Redlands has so many different clubs and organizations, and it's cool to be so involved and have that flexibility that I wasn't able to have at the D3 institution, the D1 institution that I was at. And I definitely think that both are very quality experiences. I just felt like I made the most of my experience at D3, whereas at that D1 I wasn't able to really fully experience other aspects of that the university had to offer. So
Yeah, being a student athlete's rough. So finding your fit is very important, and your fit was in Division III. Andrea, how about you? Or whatever my question is that I've already asked. When you look at, like I said, we're struggling. What does it mean to you to be a D3 or to have been a D3 student athlete now?
I I actually was just talking to my dad about this, that when I decided that I wanted to play golf in college, he took it upon himself to research a lot of different schools and conferences and divisions. And he first introduced me into the SKYA conference, which is where Redlands is, same as where Claremont is, which is where Keilee coaches now. And, you know, just like any other 16-year-old, you want to do the absolute opposite of what your parents tell you. So I wasn't super into it in the beginning. And then he brought it up a couple more times. And then I took that and decided to make it seem like my idea. And I think that Division III and going to Redlands was the perfect choice for me. So much so that like I graduated and same as Keilee, I played my last college round, and right after my dad wasn't able to be there, but I called him and said thank you for pushing me to pursue Redlands. And same as Keilee, I think I got the most out of my college experience. I met so many people. I had friends outside of golf, my teammates, some of which have become some of the most important people in my life. And I was in clubs and I did internships and I, majored and minored. I know a lot of student athletes that double major. I know someone that has like two majors and three minors. You know, I know people that for golf, it's a little difficult to study abroad because we play in the fall and the spring. But I know people that studied abroad in their off season and came back and were still competitive. And my only regret is that I didn't, not that I didn't do enough, but my only regret was that I didn't do more. I have a teammate that is in Greek life. Like I said, I don't know if I studied abroad, things probably would have played out differently for me. So I wouldn't want to change the outcome, but I got the most out of my time there. And as for Division III, Keilee kind of already said it. In the last 5 years, I'm going to say 5 years because I was looking at scores when I was recruiting. In the last 5 years, D3 women's golf has grown exponentially in, well, one, I don't know about like actual like numbers, but like numbers of players, but in the level of competition, it's like night and day, which I think is it's a great thing, you know. Even though it could be the most infuriating pastime a person could have, I think that golf is the gift that keeps on giving, and the more women that are involved in it, the better. And the more competition, it's more fun that way. So I think it's great. And I think a lot of that has to do with COVID. Um, like I myself didn't start really getting into golf until high school. And so I've heard a lot of people say that, like, oh yeah, COVID, I really got into golf. And then, I grew my game during that like off time. But like every single year, I see more and more girls um, far, far better than I was my freshman year, as Keilee can attest to. But yeah, it's great. It was the perfect choice for me. And I would, not that I'm the only person to ever say this, but like I would do it all over again if I could.
That's awesome. That's a really good point about COVID. It was one of the only sports you could really play almost the whole time during the pandemic. A lot of everything else indoor, whatever, shut down. And that does make a lot of sense why maybe people got more time in on the courses and got more into it if they were kind of like a hobbyist before. Good point. Well, my last question for both of you, and you've kind of answered it from one perspective of the competition increasing constantly, but this podcast is part of our 50th anniversary. So I will ask you, we're 50 years down, many more to come. What do you see or what do you hope to see for the future of Division III? And once again, we'll flip the order. So Andrea, you first, then Keilee, you can close it.
Well, I think what I would like to see for Division 3, specifically for women's golf, is not more recognition in the sense that like it grows, but more recognition in the sense that like when I tell people I play Division 3 women's golf, I kind of get like a weird look, like, oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? It's like, well, I chose to play Division 3 women's golf, and I would choose it again every single time. And I don't think that people realize, I kind of just said this, but I don't think people realize quite the level of competition and quite the level of dedication that it takes to play at especially the higher end of Division 3 women's golf. And so I'm hoping that as the years go by and maybe more people that play Division 3 go pro, and maybe more people talk about it, and more people choose Division 3 over X, Y, and Z other opportunity. I'm hoping that it's recognized as the commitment and the accomplishment that it is.
I'm gonna put that whole quote on a billboard or something. We need to make a commercial out of it. That was perfect. We couldn't have paid for better advertising for Division 3, Andrea. Keilee, follow that up.
Oh, that's tough to follow up. As for the future of Division 3, um, I hope to see more membership, more schools deciding to invest in women's golf. It is such an incredible experience for our student athletes to be on a team at a university and, competing for national championships, competing for conference championships to start, of course. I would also like to see more female coaches in Division 3. One of the more challenging aspects of Division 3 teams is that a lot of the men's and women's teams are coached by one head coach and multiple assistants, and those coaches face the tough decision of prioritizing one team over the other if they're competing on the same days. And so I'm hoping that athletic departments start to see that college golf takes a very long time and that you have to cover a lot of ground and you have to be at a lot of places at once. And I hope that athletic departments start to see the value of individual coaches for different teams, and then also to see more women in coaching. As for the level of golf at the Division 3 level, it has gotten better, and I hope to see it continue to get better and better. I mean, in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of players at Division 3 use that COVID year. One particular example that comes to mind is the number one player on the men's side at Division 3. His name was Alex Price out of Christopher Newport. He graduated, I believe, in 2023 and went on to use his grad year at LSU and ended up winning a NCAA Division 1 tournament. So I think that that's the kind of testament to the level of Division 3, and more awareness about the strengths of Division 3. I think, kind of as Andrea said, there's a lot of people believing that it's lesser or that it's not as competitive, and that is just not the case. Our level is getting higher and higher, and we have very quality athletes who are looking for a very different experience than at a Division 1. And if students graduating high school can start to see that these Division 3 schools provide opportunities where they are able to go abroad, or they are able to join Greek life, or they are able to do all of these other things in addition to being student athletes while still competing at the highest level for an NCAA championship. I think that that's something that we all, as Division 3 graduates and current players, have to start, gassing up, have to start, spreading the word of the high quality experiences that we're having, and hopefully we can get more quality athletes to come and have these really amazing experiences and see where this level goes.
Awesome. Well, thank you both again for joining me tonight. I appreciate you taking some time to talk about your experiences. I am still slightly horrified by the number of Texas Roadhouse rolls that your teammate ate, but I'm also kind of sort of craving them. So that worked two ways. But thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
To everyone listening, thanks for tuning into this episode of Small Talk. We post new episodes every week. To follow along with everything Division III, you can find us on social media at NCAA D3 or NCAA DIII. Make sure to join the conversation with us all year long by using the hashtag DIII50. Have a great day, and we'll see you for some more Small Talk next week.